Child rape, the worst kind of rape. I hate it. You hate it. Everyone hates it. What's not to hate? As a matter of fact, our collective aversion to child rape is so big that over the years, whether in actuality or just through memeing, we've come up with a creative solution to prevent the problem. This is Chip. Chip will be keeping us company throughout this segment. But for now, we will put it away. The aversion to this topic is so big, understandably so, that I told myself I would never talk about it in public because the risk-reward ratio isn't there. There's one thing that I want to say, though, about wood chippers specifically. You see, I'm not really a fan of punitive justice. I don't think that is a good way to treat people who've done crimes. However, I gotta say, if there is one crime for which I would let that principle slide, it's child rape. I'm on Team W for that one, even though it's not my preferred choice. You know, as I say, if there was a way to prevent child rape without resorting to this guy over here, I would consider that a bonus. You know, we all want the same thing. We all want to protect this. Now, the reason why I am breaking my rule to never talk about this in public is because last week there was a pretty big brouhaha that arose on Twitter, and those of you who've been watching this channel for a while know how fascinated I am with crisis management, or how a company deals with a huge amount of negative attention that they are suddenly the target of. So I would like to talk about a controversy that arose on Thursday. And I was on top of this almost at the beginning of it, like a couple hours. So let me introduce to you this thread by the account Libs of TikTok, a very popular account. Now, just to give you an idea, this clip right now has 2.5 million views, and it hasn't even been up a week. So what we will do, we will play all three clips. It shouldn't be too long, and then at least we will we'll keep talking about it from there. So this is the viral clip here. Caption: This non-binary assistant professor at Old Dominion University is trying to normalize the term MAP, minor attracted persons. Let's listen.
So much for that question. I use the term minor attracted person, or MAP, in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them. And MAP advocacy groups like Before You Act have advocated for use of the term MAP. They've advocated for it primarily because it's less stigmatizing than other terms like pedophile. A lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender, and that isn't true, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions toward minors. I've definitely heard the idea that you brought up, though, that the use of the term minor attracted person suggests that it's okay to be attracted to children. But using a term that communicates who someone is attracted to doesn't indicate anything about the morality of that attraction. So much for that question.
All right, that's the first clip, and you know, I think even if we want to be charitable, we can agree it's kind of a yikes clip. There was a seed planted in there, which I may circle back to, but we will get into the broader context of this. But we have two more clips to listen to. Second one here, and pay close attention to this. So the other two clips that followed have a fraction of the views, and they're like 10, 15 seconds each. So let's watch this one. Captured. They are coming for your kids. Let's listen.
And non-offending MAPs, by definition, do not abuse children, so their behaviors are moral. but they're still being subjected to this same idea that they're bad people. And non-offending maps, by definition, do not abuse
Let's
children,
listen to it
so their
twice. Why not?
behaviors are moral. But they're still being subjected to this same idea that they're bad people. And non-offending
Okay. So remember this one. Let's move on to the third one, and then we can talk.
Stigma against maps is a problem in part because it makes maps think that they're monsters. That's really problematic in terms of map well-being. It's really hard to cope when you think you're a terrible person because you have attractions that you can't change. Stigma against maps is a problem in part because it makes maps think that they're monsters. That's really problematic in terms of map well-being. It's really hard to cope when you think you're a terrible person because you have attractions that you can't change.
Okay. So we have an idea, and again, the brouhaha that arose following this is entirely based off of the first clip, which has 2.5 million views. I will say, when I say that this is what everyone is basing their outrage over, I just want to add some context because y'all know me. I am a fan of primary sources, and since Alan Walker's name was right there in the name of the first clip, I found the primary source. And the 56-second clip that you saw that has 2.5 million views, the initial interview as of right now has 12,000 views roughly. And I would imagine that these 2,000 dislikes here are from people who didn't actually watch it. So let's assume that it's 10,000 and that 2,000 people just clicked on this, hit the dislike button, and left. This conversation is about 28 minutes long. Here is a here's an important, well, yes, I think it's important. Piece of information that is not really contained in those three clips that I just showed you, but that is very clear if you watch the whole conversation, which I will not play here for reasons that I'll explain later. But the twist is Dr. Walker only works with pedophiles who haven't raped any kids yet. Now, there's one assumption that I will add to this. This isn't explicitly stated, but it is so obvious that if they forgot this, I don't know what to tell them. But I will say, if this is false, this entire segment goes up in flames. I will assume that none of the pedophiles that Dr. Walker works with have consumed child porn either. The damage caused by child porn is so obvious, even consuming it, that if it's obvious for like some schmuck on YouTube like me, some PhD who dedicates their career to helping pedophiles who haven't raped kids yet not rape kids, is, yeah. But yes, if you've even if you haven't raped a kid in your life, if you've consumed child porn, me and some people have a friend we'd like to introduce you to. So that being said, I want to make one thing clear right away, because I'm reminded of a friend of mine back in the day who told me, and they were a super woke SJW, but we were really close friends. And I remember he said to me, there's no such thing as a non-offending pedophile. Now, if you agree with that, if the concept of someone who feels the urge to have sex with kids, but who hasn't raped any kids yet and hasn't consumed child porn yet, if that concept is too much for you, this video is not for you. I'm sorry I've wasted your time. Go forth in peace. Again, I've said this time and time again, it's not my first choice, but I am Team W, so that is fine. I think that If that concept is too much for you to grok, thank you for your attention. I will see you soon. Now, for those of you who are left who qualify to watch the rest of this segment, I want to say, just as a summary, and again, this is obvious if you watch the entire conversation from which those 3 clips were taken. Allyn Walker's goal is to help pedophiles not rape kids, which would be a reduction in the amount of child rape in the world. Now, before we continue, I want to talk about the organization that was hosting this conversation, which is Prostasia. I won't read from this site, but I at least want to display it here. So Prostasia here is, it's a center, a charity that wants to protect children by upholding the rights and freedoms of all, you see. I will not go into detail of this, but suffice it to say, I will link to 2 videos in the description, both to this stream and to the segment that I'll upload. One of them is by Lauren Chen, and the other is from Shuan Head. The Prostasia Foundation has some really shady shit going on. The ones that I will mention, and these are allegations, I don't have any primary sources for this, so feel free to vet this and take it with a grain of salt, but based on the secondhand research that I did, aka I watched 2 YouTube videos. From what I've heard, there were former members who've had some shady shit. One of them allegedly was caught with child porn, and the other one was allegedly caught with having sex with a minor under 13 years old. So yes, I know, Chip. I agree, but let's go back there for a second here. I just wanted to acknowledge that. I didn't know that about Prostasia when I watched the interview. However, I don't think this changes my thesis. I will connect the dots at the end of this segment. So let's talk about stigma. And this is really what is at the core of the outrage. So as was explicitly stated in one of those 3 clips, Allyn Walker vocally wants to reduce the stigma around pedophilia. Now, let's talk about that for a second. I'm sure y'all have heard of the notion that there are some people who want to normalize pedophilia as just another kind of attraction to like make it easier for pedophiles to get accepted, and essentially be some nefarious scheme to help pedophiles get easier access to children. I had also heard of this, and as as much as pedophiles 1,000,000% have the incentive to do this, because we all know the alternative, or one possible alternative to what might happen if they don't. Even if we don't use Chip over here, as you've undoubtedly heard, hardcore prisoners like murderers and thieves and bank robbers and shit, they treat child rapists really badly, and rightfully so. It's such a universally hated thing that even other hard criminals hate it. Now, here's the thing. What Allyn is trying to do is to, again, I'll remind you, their goal is to help non-offending pedophiles who haven't raped kids yet to cope and come up with strategies to not rape kids. I could think of worse things to do. However, the problem is, as much as Allyn wants to use destigmatization as a tool to help these people, I don't think that these two narratives can be separated. And as a matter of fact, I'm not even convinced they should be separated. Honestly, this isn't the kind of thing that I have thought through completely. But one thing is for sure: the stigmatization of pedophilia or attraction to minors is there for a reason. I 1,000,000% support it. I will circle back to this at the very end. So let's fast forward to a couple days later. Actually, before we do, because like I said, I was on top of this story like a couple hours after Libs of TikTok had tweeted this, and you may have noticed this, but in the right here where they say at ODU care to comment, this was on the night of November 11th, right? And it was obvious to me that whoever the fuck is running this account ended their day a while ago. So I made the obvious joke because for those of you who don't know, I've managed the Twitter account of a company which has a controversial service within the province of Quebec. And although I've never had to deal with a crisis on this level, we have had negative attention come to us. So I can kind of identify with the person. And I made this joke here of ODU's social media manager coming into work tomorrow. Believe it or not, it ended up being worse than what is classified in this GIF here. But one thing is for sure, they did eventually come around and actually make a statement. So let us read it right now. So this was written on Saturday, the 13th of November. An academic community plays a valuable role in the quest for knowledge. A vital part of this is being willing to consider scientific and other empirical data that may involve controversial issues and perspectives. Following a recent interview that gained national attention, Dr. Allyn Walker has released the following statement. I want to be clear. Child sexual abuse is morally wrong and an inexcusable crime. As an assistant professor of sociology and criminal justice, the goal of my research is to prevent crime. My work is informed by my past experience and advocacy as a social worker counseling victims. I embarked on this research in hopes of gaining understanding of a group that previously has not been studied in order to identify ways to protect children. You know what? Rereading this, I have no trouble believing this part. You know, the study of pedophiles to see if there are other ways to protect children. I would assume that there were very, very, very few people who have even asked themselves the question. Let's continue. Following recent social media activity and direct outreach to the institution, it is important to share that Old Dominion, as a caring and inclusive community, does not endorse or promote crimes against children or any form of criminal activity. And that is the statement. Now, let me tell y'all, the reason why that statement sounded like such empty words, the reason why that statement sounded so empty is because they made a fundamental mistake, I think, okay? The fundamental mistake that Old Dominion University made is they were targeting people who are familiar with Dr. Walker's research, which is not the case. Most of these people, 2.5 million people, only saw that 1 minute clip that we saw at the top of this segment. So let's just take a look at some of the reactions here. First of all, me, yes, I had to get a jab in. Your communications program must be top notch. Y'all fucked up, buddy. So yeah, some bullets here. There's going to be a comment of the kind that I'm looking for. Wait. Whole university need to go on wood chipper now. Where is it? You guys support this nonsense? I can't find a specific one right now, but the bottom line is I noticed a bunch of comments saying, so the bottom line is you're not going to do anything, which is part of the problem. What this absolutely vapid statement is that, hey, we support controversial research. You have the right to do controversial research, and raping kids is wrong. But most of these people who are outraged, the 2.5 million people who saw that, they're basically under the assumption that Old Dominion University is aiding and abetting pedophiles. A bunch of people probably think that Allyn Walker is a pedophile. I mean, hey, why else would you be so interested in destigmatizing it, eh? I mean, this 1 minute clip says you want to destigmatize it, so there's only one way to explain it. There's only one way to explain it, and I want to introduce you to a friend of mine here. So yeah, like if you don't address the fundamental problem, it's going to be unsatisfying. And to these people that I just imitated, nothing short of firing Allyn Walker will satisfy them. I'm sure most of the people, even if they were aware of the things that I just mentioned, would their minds would be unchanged because of our good friend cognitive dissonance. And you know how you can very easily detect cognitive dissonance in others, but to yourself, you know, to the person experiencing it, there's no difference between cognitive dissonance and accurately seeing the world as it is, right? But I have some concrete examples of cognitive dissonance from this. Ah, crap. Yeah, I won't be able to find the tweet, but I will be able to just trust me that this happened. Okay, take my word for it. I'm sure if you scrolled in that Twitter thread that almost crashed this stream, that you will find it. But one of the replies in the tweet that Dominion University used to link to their statement was it was something along the lines of, so you won't even condemn pedophilia, or you won't even condemn child rape, or you won't even condemn abuse towards children. However, in the statement, it is explicitly said, like right here. Whoops. Right here. Child sexual abuse is morally wrong and inexcusable crime. So the fact that the person who wrote that couldn't even process that or didn't read the statement, that's also possible, is striking to me. And the other example, which I will fetch right now, I'm going to skip all the way to the bottom here. I'm going to read the 3 last paragraphs of this New York Post article. Honestly, it just sounds gross, student Jillian Jackson told WTKR. Just because you're not acting on it, to acknowledge it is weird and not okay at all. Okay, that actually I think is fair. It feels uncomfortable to know that someone like that's on campus. Also, very fair. A change.org petition signed by more than 1,600 people as of Monday called on ODU to oust Walker. Here's the quote here. Dr. Walker uses the term MAP, which is an umbrella term for minor attracted persons. The petition reads, "We want to be clear that this is pedophilia and should not be considered a sexual preference. Being that they teach in sociology and criminal justice department makes us worried their views will affect the next generation in a negative way." Now, this is a sign of either cognitive dissonance or someone who didn't consult the primary source, because this part here, that pedophilia should not be considered a sexual preference, this conversation did take place in the 30-minute interview from which those 3 1-minute clips were taken. So yeah, it's they either didn't consult the source or couldn't process it. So that is part of the reason, like the cognitive dissonance that I've seen through the tweets that have taken place is was part of the reason that I was afraid to even cover this in the way that I am. I almost backed out of doing this segment several times. But let me drive this home, okay? Let me stitch together what I think might have happened, because, I can't know, of course. I'm just constructing a story that might be possible with given the information that I know. So we have Dr. Walker here who's working on non-offending pedophiles. Again, an unspoken assumption that I'm adding is that they haven't consumed child porn yet. So Dr. Walker is helping non-offending pedos to not rape kids, okay? And they ended up writing a book about it. And then, having published this book and being eager to promote it, that book came into the onto the radar of Prostasia, who approached Dr. Walker and said, "Hey, we hear you want to destigmatize pedophilia. We'd love to talk to you. Why don't you come on our channel and talk about your book? Because this is a really fascinating topic, and again, in this scenario, which I'm stitching together, I have no proof of any of this. That basically Allyn didn't vet the organization enough, and that's about it. And honestly, I've never written a book, but I know people who have. And when you're promoting a book, like there is incentive to kind of like go on any platform that you can get on to talk about it, right? Especially a book that so many people find so icky on so many levels. That's what I think might have happened. Now, let me wrap up with a message to different people, okay? I'm going to start with Old Dominion University. And again, I'm not an expert on this, but here's what I would have done, which might have yielded you better results. The first thing I would have done is to stall. Like this fiasco happened on Thursday night. I think that on Friday, as early as possible on Friday, to at least say something like, "Hey, we hear you. We're aware of the situation. Please give us a moment to look into it." Something as simple as that. Yes, it would have been troll bait. That even a tweet like that would have been ratioed to death. But it's better than silence. There's a concept that I learned when I was doing improv, that the longer you make an audience wait for something, the better it better be. Which is why, like, in the context of an improv scene, it's usually a good idea to just blurt the first thing that comes to mind out, like, right away, because you don't put as much pressure on yourself. So, given the fact that this controversy happened on Thursday night, and we waited 2 days for this completely lackluster, vapid, empty shell of a statement, is not really good. So it's kind of the worst of both worlds. Now, what I would have done, and this is an advantage that I have having watched the whole thing, I think that the 30-minute conversation that took place between Allyn Walker and Prostasia had enough material for ODU to do its own clip chimping. I think that as much as Libs of TikTok used 3 clips totaling roughly 2 minutes to paint this horrible picture of Dr. Walker and what they're doing, ODU could have used clips from that same interview with something like, "Here's what you might not have seen from that conversation," to make Allyn Walker's work look much more reasonable than Libs of TikTok did. I think that could have been a much more poignant approach compared to just some vapid, hey, we do all sorts of research here, and hey, child rape is wrong, that kind of thing. To Dr. Walker, if you happen to see this, listen, again, I'm not an expert, but here's the thing. I understand why you want to destigmatize the attraction to minors. I don't think that's a battle you can win. And honestly, I'm not entirely convinced that it's a battle you should be able to win, but that's me. If you even appear to be wanting to destigmatize this, it's going to get you the kind of treatment that you got. And I don't think that pursuing this is a good way to win the battle, because with this, like, in your quest to destigmatize pedophilia for your research, what you ended up doing is that now 2.5 million people are accidentally arguing against the prevention of child rape, and they don't even know it. And they want you fired for a conversation that they didn't even see. And all you had to do, well, I say all you had to do like it's that simple, but to publicly advocate for that destigmatization is like 100% of what's causing this problem. And yeah, I if I was in that position, I might consider like taking a completely different approach. And when I'm one-on-one with a non-offending pedophile, to help them deal with the stigma instead of publicly asking people to not stigmatize. That's how I would do it. Now, to the people who are upset, first of all, if you came here from Twitter and you're still watching, holy shit, thank you so much. Okay, you're part of the elite. Okay, the intellectual elite, baby. For you, I have some homework. I have an easy level and an intermediate level. The first level, the easy part of your homework is the original conversation that got clipped. I've linked to it below. The easy homework is just watch the first 6 minutes. You don't even need to watch it all. Watch the first 6 minutes, the first question, the first answer in its entirety. And that's that. The advanced level of this homework is this. Remember this clip here?
Stigma against MAPS is a problem in part because it makes MAPS think that they're monsters. That's really problematic in terms of MAP well-being. It's really hard to cope when you think you're a terrible person because you have attractions that you can't change.
Okay.
Stigma against MAPS.
The intermediate level of your homework is find that clip that I just played in the original conversation. It's not at the very end, okay? So find that clip and listen to the minute before and the minute after. It's about 3 minutes roughly. So listen to the question that they were answering and the entirety of their answer. That's it. I can only show you the door. You walk through it. And again, if I've only served to reinforce the position that you had coming in, then hey, at least I tried. So listen, if you're still watching, thank you very much. If there's anything that you think I got wrong, and I'm sure there is, just leave a comment below and let me know. And to the rest of you, thank you again, and I'll see you soon.